Hello, Susu. Is my computer okay now? I'm not entirely sure. I don't completely know. I was able to get it started again. I was able to get it working again, but I'm not really sure what happened. So I just had to remove an update, and now it works okay, but we'll see how long that happens for. But now my iPad is not working today for some reason. It's not charging suddenly. So that's fun. Hello, Samuel. Computer things can be tricky.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Yes, it was a short circuit. Well, we had a major storm here. We didn't have a tornado. We had something called a derecho. Do you guys know what a derecho is? So the word tornado is a word that comes from Spanish. There are two words in Spanish. I can't remember the exact words. One is a word that means storm, like thunderstorm. I think it's tronada. And then the other one is a word that means to turn. Tronda, I think. And then this word, that's the word tornado, right? But then the word derecho is like a tornado, but the word derecho means direct, straight. So the story is that there was a scientist who was studying tornadoes in Iowa in, I can't remember what year, in the 1930s, I think. He was studying tornadoes, and he noticed that these were not tornadoes. They were just like tornadoes. They had the wind of a tornado, but they were straight. They didn't twirl. They didn't go in a circle, right? So he named them, etymologically, he wanted something that was Spanish also to match tornado, right? So tornado is one that spins, and derecho is one that's straight. So we had a huge storm called a derecho here, and it was the biggest one that's hit my city. Well, it's the biggest one I can ever remember. And there were many trees down. The winds were very high, and so they had many trees down. And so the power was out for 2 days. 36 hours, we didn't have power. For 36 hours. More than, it was 3 days. But usually, if we lose power, we don't lose power very much. Maybe we have a big storm and we lose power for a few hours. Sometimes it's like maybe 6 or 7 or 8 hours at the most. This time it was 36 hours of no power. And I think there might even still be some people who still don't have their power. It's crazy. Yeah, almost the whole city lost power. So, yeah. Is everyone safe? Well, I mean, in my family, sure. Yeah. Except my wrist, when the power went out, well, I had to call my brother because my brother has a generator, an electric, or I'm sorry, a gas generator. So I called him to say, can I come over and borrow your generator? But he wasn't home, so I had to go get it myself, and it's pretty heavy. It's very heavy. And awkward to move. And it was storming, and it was windy, and I was trying to move it quickly myself, and this wrist, I broke this wrist how many years ago? 7 years ago, I think it was. I broke this wrist 7 years ago, so there's a titanium plate in this wrist. And when I was lifting it up, I think I was just lifting too hard, moving too fast, and I twisted my wrist too much. I put too much weight on this wrist, and it's been sore for a few days now, so I'm wearing a brace to just try to limit the motion for a few days. It's not, I don't think it's broken again. If it were broken again, I think it would be worse. I think I just really, really, really strained it. I put too much weight on it, and twisted it maybe a little bit too much as well. But in the last week, I've had to do a lot of lifting and heavy stuff, and a lot of yard work and tree cutting and limb cutting and log lifting and stuff like that. And so, yeah. I'm not that surprised that my wrist is hurt. But it's not a big deal. I'll be fine. I'm more worried about my iPad. Okay, let's see. Hello to everyone else. Hello, Nala, Flavia, AB, hello. Mookie, hello Mookie. Can I explain the word prioritize? Sure. First of all, there are two ways to spell prioritize. You can spell it with an S or with a Z. The American way to spell it is with a Z. The British way to spell it is with an S. Does not matter. Whichever one you want is fine. Just know that there are two ways to spell it. To prioritize is to make something prior. So the word prioritize, I'm looking up the etymology. Prioritize, to designate as worthy of priority. So to prioritize is to make something a priority, right? What's a priority? A priority is something that's important to you, more important than other things, right? So let's see. Priority comes from the Latin word prioritatum, which means fact or condition of being prior. So it means something that must come before, something that must come first, right? Prior, before, earlier, more important, first, number one, right? Okay, so that's what prioritize means. It means that if you have a list of 10 things, you have to think which one is the most important and which one is the least important. That is prioritizing things. Prioritization. It's actually the only thing that's awkward is using a mouse. It's really hard to use a mouse. I just realized that. It's uncomfortable. But oh well. Is it a verb? You mean the word prioritize? Prioritize is a verb. Yeah. Priority is a noun. When you make something a priority, that's a noun, you have prioritized it. That's a verb. What is subtle? The word subtle means, it comes from the Latin word, I think it's subtilis. Let me double check. Because the word subtle is interesting. We don't pronounce the B in subtle, right? So when you say it, it's not subtle, it's just subtle. Just pretend it doesn't have a B in it. Why does it have a B? It has a B in it because it comes from the Latin word subtilis, which means fine or thin or delicate or exact or precise or accurate. So, if something is subtle, it means a small difference or change that is not very easily noticeable. Something that's not very easily noticeable is something that is subtle. Okay? During a derecho, people prioritize safety. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So, if you, let me think. What's a good word? So just think of being subtle as doing something very small and you hope that nobody notices. That's subtle. Okay, so if you change something, but you hope that nobody really notices the change, not actively, then it's subtle. Okay? All right. For English beginners practicing listening skills, would you recommend following this viewing order? SpongeBob SquarePants and what? SpongeBob is fine for listening. Sometimes cartoons can be good for learning. Sometimes they can be a little not so good. And the reason why is because cartoons usually use exaggerated voices. Now, exaggerated voices are funny. That's why we like exaggerated voices, right? So when you make a cartoon voice, it usually doesn't just sound like a regular guy. It has some weird quality to it, right? Now, why is that good and why is that bad? One reason it's bad is because it's not a normal everyday voice. It's a little weird. So you're listening to something that's a little weird. But the good news is because it's a cartoon voice and because it's a weird voice, that means they're usually exaggerated. they exaggerate the sound of the voice to make it very different. And that usually means, let's put it this way. When you're a voiceover actor, your voice is the most important thing for you to change and to manipulate, right? They can't see you. It's only your voice. So that means that you play with your voice a lot when you're a voice actor. And that means they usually over-exaggerate, not under-exaggerate. Because if you're a voiceover actor, the number one quality that they want you to have is clarity. So even if you make a funny voice, it needs to sound clear, right? They need to be able to understand the words, even if it's a funny voice. So that's the benefit of cartoons. Because they're cartoons, they exaggerate the voices to make them more funny, which can make them more exaggerated in pronunciation as well, which is good for you. But because it's also a weird, funny voice, it might not be good for you. But you could also make the argument that it's good to listen to the weird cartoon voice, because if you can understand the weird cartoon voice, then you should understand the normal voice. You know? Boyka, I strained my wrist a little bit when I was lifting a heavy generator. I broke this wrist like 7 years ago. When I was riding my bicycle, I fell off my bike and fell on my wrist and broke it. That was 7 years ago. But this wrist still has a titanium plate in it, and after you break your wrist, you do have to be a little careful when you're lifting things and, you know. So, I wasn't very careful, and now I strained it. That's all. It's not a big deal. It should be fine within a week, I think. If it still hurts in a week, then I'm going to go get an x-ray and see if maybe I fractured it. A fracture. What is a fracture? Do you know what a fracture is? To fracture. Comes from the Latin word fractura, fractus, meaning a breach or break or cleft, to break apart. But the difference between a break and a fracture in medical terms, a break is worse than a fracture, is my understanding. A fracture is more of a slight, very small crack, but when you break something, that's not small, that's clear, that's obvious. Oh, you broke it, right? A fracture is just a small crack in the bone. So possibly, maybe I might have fractured a small part of my wrist. I don't know. I don't think so, because I think it would hurt more. It only hurts a little bit. It's not that bad. It hurts enough for me to know something's wrong. That's what pain is for, you know? Pain is to let you know something is wrong. That's the purpose of pain. All pain. But just like the purpose of all pain is to let you know something is wrong, sometimes we have a tendency to want to blame our sicknesses for how we feel, but not take responsibility for why we got sick in the first place. right? So if it's a physical sickness, if you got sick, sometimes it's not your fault. You get sick, right? Sometimes it is your fault because you've been taking risks too much or pushing yourself too much or doing too much or whatever, so sometimes you get sick because of some of your own personal responsibility. It was your responsibility to stay healthy and you did not, right? Same thing happens with emotional pain. Sometimes when we have emotional pain, we have a tendency to want to blame all of the pain on what caused, the person who caused the emotional pain, the person or thing that caused the emotional pain. But we don't think about why we got sick. So, for example, if you get diabetes, maybe it's because of your genetics and that's not your fault, but maybe it's because of your diet and that is your fault. That's absolutely your fault. That's a cause that you should take responsibility for, right? So sometimes emotional pain is the same, where sometimes we have a tendency to blame the person who gave us the pain or the thing that gave us the pain completely. Like they're the reason why I feel bad. But we don't take any responsibility for how we got there, Were you eating bad fast food every day? That's why you got diabetes. So why do you have a broken heart, maybe? Or why do you feel depressed or sad? What were you doing that was your responsibility, but you have not done that, and now that's your responsibility that you failed in, right? So that's your fault, right? You have to take personal responsibility for your pain. That's my point. Is that it's easy to point fingers outward. It's always easy to say they did it or he did it or she did it. It's very easy to do that. It's much harder to look inward and figure out what part of this did I play? What did I do to bring me here today? I didn't get that piece of metal out of my wrist. No, I still have titanium in my wrist. Ivy, I want to tell you, I would love to do that, but we don't do that in America. We don't go to the doctor early because that might cost us too much money. There was just a study out. I just saw there's a study out. 93%, I think it said 93% of Americans have foregone medical care, which means to forego means to not do, not use, to avoid. So 93% of Americans have avoided medical care because they were worried about the cost, right? Like, so they could have gone to the doctor early, but they were worried about the cost, so they didn't. 93% of Americans have done that. That's what we do. Medical care is the worst thing in America and the best thing. Like, we have the best hospitals and the best doctors and the best technology and all that, but the worst system ever. Because it's not a system that's based on helping people, it's a system based on making money. It's very easy to understand what the problem is. Anyway. Be careful of painkiller pills. It's not that bad. You know, I might use some ibuprofen, but nothing more than that. So, yes, I had a small fracture in my knee. I did not care, but now it got bigger. Well, but see, that's why I have this on. Because if I keep this on for a week, that's all they're going to do. If I go to a doctor, that's probably what he's going to do. Is he's going to say you need one of these. And you need to wear it and try not to use your wrist much for a week or two or a month or something like that. So I am doing what I know that they would tell me to do. Fortunately for me, I have a sister who's a nurse and a sister who's a doctor. So sometimes when I need help, ringy dingy, I call my sister and I ask her to diagnose me over the phone. No, I don't. You're not allowed to do that. But she'll, give me suggestions of what I should do or shouldn't do. Yeah. So the American medical system is kind of stupid. And you know what we say about things that are stupid? You learn that if people take too many painkillers, they might get addicted to them. Susu, you should read about the OxyContin and oxycodone epidemic in America in the early 2000s, it was. Go look online, type in, just type in oxy epidemic 2000s, and you'll find lots of news articles about it. There were all these pharmaceutical companies that were promoting these painkillers that were really, really powerful and really, really addictive, but they were pushing them on the doctors, and they were giving the doctors kickbacks to promote the medicines, so the doctors were writing hundreds and thousands of prescriptions for these pain pills, and yeah, they were really addictive, and all these people got on them for their pain, and when they were done with them, they got off the pain pill, like, okay, so your prescription is done. They're not going to keep giving it to you forever, so then they run out. But you're addicted now, so now you go to street drugs. You can't get those from the doctor, so now you go to street drugs. So there was a big thing about it. Do doctors get money from that? Kind of. Read the articles about what happened. Things have changed since then. Not entirely, but some things have changed so that it's not, that they can't do that anymore. Well, hopefully. But we had a big problem with that. Really big problem with that. I knew a few people who got addicted to those things because they were giving them away for everything. If you had back pain or neck pain or arm pain or leg pain or whatever kind of pain, they were using these. And yeah. Hello, Shaima. I'm fine. Hello, Samaya. You're from Iran. You just met me. You want to improve your listening. However, you can't understand me, Samaya? I think just try. Just listen. Listen and try to understand what you can. Okay? If you can understand a little, that's good. Okay? And I actually almost enjoy when these types of things happen. When I injure my right hand, now I'm forced to do more things with my left hand, and I have to get more dexterity, more skillful ability with my opposite hand. So I actually like the opportunity to be able to work on my weak side coordination. It's good for your brain. Maria's having shock waves to treat your elbow. You mean ultrasound, I think is what you mean. Ultrasound. I did that many years ago. I also have tendonitis in both my arms from playing drums. And that's how they used to treat my tendonitis, was they used these ultrasound machines that would shoot sound pulses, shocks into my arm. Okay, and hello, Famelza. Can I clarify these words? Let me see what these words are. Confiscated, inadequacy. I can't speak today. Confiscated, inadequacy, delinquency, and oh, okay, that's a different question. So those words, to confiscate something means to take it away from someone, right? So for example, if I'm teaching a class and I see a kid playing on a phone, maybe they're playing with a phone or a toy, maybe they have a toy they're not supposed to be playing with, so I will take it away from them and tell them they can have it at the end of class or something, right? I have confiscated it from them. That means I have taken it away from them because they weren't supposed to have it. Okay? So that's to confiscate. Inadequate is a word that means not good enough. Adequate means okay, acceptable. It's acceptable. It's adequate. It's it meets the qualifications that you need. It's adequate. Okay? Adequate doesn't mean wonderful. It doesn't mean amazing. It doesn't mean great. It means it got the job done. Okay, it's good enough. All right, it's adequate. Okay? So inadequate means not good enough. So inadequacy means the traits of not being good enough, the qualities of not being good enough. Okay? And delinquency is a word, to be delinquent is a word that usually means doing something that's not the way society expects you to do it. So this word is almost like crazy. They're crazy. They're a delinquent. To be a delinquent, let's look at that word. I'm curious. I don't think I've ever looked up the etymology of this one. Delinquency, delinquents. Wait a minute. There it is. I can't type with my hand now. Delinquent. It comes from the Latin word delinquentum. Delinquere, which means to fail or be wanting or fall short of or do wrong or transgress or offend. So, in this case, it means... Yeah, basically, delinquency means to not do what someone expects you to do, right? So if, for example, maybe if you are a police officer in a jail and you're supposed to watch the prisoners, but you don't watch the prisoners, you fall asleep. You fall asleep, and one of the prisoners falls and dies while you're sleeping. They get hurt. They get killed, right? You will be found delinquent of your duties. You were supposed to be watching them, but you were not. So you failed to do your duty. That's to be delinquent, okay? So, let's see. So basically, anytime somebody is expected to do some sort of a job or a position or an act or a behavior, and they don't do it, they don't meet up to those expectations, then you might say they were delinquent. Okay? They failed in their duty or obligation. Okay? Now, the next question was, what's the difference between ado and fuss? Ooh, well, ado, we don't use that word much anymore. The word ado, the only time I ever hear it is Much Ado About Nothing, which is a Shakespearean play. And it means ado is like how do you explain that? Hold on, let me look it up. I always forget. It means a lot of concern. That's the word I was looking for. Concern, worry. You're focused, your attention. That's much ado, right? So ado is basically your focus, your attention, your concern, right? Fuss, to fuss about something is to be concerned and focused about something. Ado is just not used that much anymore. We only use it really when we're using that term, much ado about nothing, which is a term that means how do I explain it? It means a lot of worry for no good reason. Okay? A lot of worry for something that doesn't matter. That's much ado about nothing. Okay? It means a lot of concern and worry and focus and attention about something that's very unimportant. Okay? Flavia, yes. Someone wrote those words, didn't they? Yeah, those are over in my YouTube channel, so yeah, I'll write them here. Again, confiscated. Okay. There they. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I misspelled confiscated, but I think you get the point. Oops. Is this app good for streamers to gain some money? No. No, it's not. I have 91,000 followers. I am one of the most popular streamers on this app, and I make no money. Shima says, I feel lazy sometimes to practice my English in holidays, so I'll just have a long break. Well, that's your problem, Shima. You know it's your problem. You just said it. That's the problem. Okay, so don't be lazy. I'm sorry. You have to find some creative ways to not be lazy. You have to find some creative ways to figure out how to practice and not stop. Now, that doesn't mean you have to study. That's the thing I'm trying to tell you, is that most adults fail to continue to learn in adult life because they don't learn how to learn as an adult. You're still trying to learn the way you did when you were a kid in school. Let me study for 1 hour in my book. Let me study for 2 hours every day in my book. That's what you did in school when you were a child. You're not a child anymore, and you're not in school. So you have to find a different way to study. You have to make learning part of your life. It can be done. It's not hard, actually. It's not hard at all. Every day in life, you have opportunities to learn. You can turn them into opportunities to learn if you want to. So you can, for example, let's say you're just relaxing and watching your favorite movie with your friends when you're on holiday. Okay, great. How about you play a little a game? You could play a drinking game even, right? You could watch the movie and play a drinking game and learn English, right? So every time they say, a certain word in, I don't know, maybe every time they say something about the guy, you have to say an English adjective about him, or the first person to yell out an English adjective wins, or whatever. What I'm saying is it's an opportunity to do something that you want to do. I want to watch a movie. Okay. But you can still find a way to make it a learning activity, something that is good for your language. Language is the easiest one. Of all the things that you can practice in daily life, language is the easiest one. Okay? So, every opportunity that you have in your life when you're doing something, if you go to the market, and you're buying things, you already have to buy some things. Can't you just take a minute and say, do I know how to say this in English? Do I know how to say that in English? Do I know how to say this in English? Can I make my grocery list in English today? That's an opportunity to learn, right? I'm not telling you to go sit down and study for 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. No, I'm telling you to make your grocery list in English, right? So find creative ways to keep learning alive in your daily life. Learning doesn't have to be this thing that you only visit occasionally. Learning can be something that happens all the time. Learning doesn't have to be a place that you visit on the weekend. Learning can happen all the time if you're paying attention. Okay? If you're creative and you're paying attention, there are opportunities to make your daily life learning. Okay? And that is much easier to stay motivated about because it's part of your daily life. There is no matter of motivation. These are things that you must do, right? You have to go to the grocery store anyway. You have to go to the market. It's something you have to do anyway. So you cannot avoid it. So now I'm just saying, okay, let's just make that an English exercise too, where you just add a little vocabulary to what you're doing. You won't avoid that because you can't avoid that because you must do it because you have to buy groceries. So now you have an opportunity to also have to learn. Okay? Okay. Next question. Stefan has a question. There is a question like, he told me that I will come. Where is the mistake? I cannot answer that. I don't know what you're asking me because I don't know the way you wrote it. I don't know what you're asking me. What is the sentence that you're trying to write that people don't understand? I know that there's something that you don't understand what the mistake is, but I cannot see what it is from what you wrote. Okay? All right. Ahura says, sometimes I face a lack of fluency while speaking. The reason why is that my mind explores synonyms of words to avoid repetitive vocabulary. I don't see what the problem is with that. That sounds like a good thing, not a bad thing. Why do you think that's a bad thing? That sounds like a good problem to have, if you ask me. Ahura, that means that you might take a little bit longer to get comfortable, but when you get comfortable, you'll be a lot more comfortable, right? So that's how learning works sometimes, Ahura, is that there are two pathways to get there. One of them, it takes a long time and it's slower, but over time it will eventually be really stable, right? So it's a very slow, long path. Or there's the quick, fast path that you can get immediately, but it's not usually very stable. It doesn't stay with you, okay? So the method that you have might feel like it is not effective, but it's because it just takes longer to be effective. So I would say stick with it, okay? All right, let's see. Fang says, I'm an English beginner. I've finished a basic English grammar book I recommended. What should I do next? Book 2. Yeah, they have book 2 online also. Fang. So I'd say, Funga, go look online and you can find book 2. Look for Saddleback Publishing, Basic English Grammar, book 2. It's online. Okay? Hello, Monk. You finished both. Well, if you've done 2 free books, then I would recommend that you find another one to buy. However, Fanga, if you've done those 2 books, to me, that's the majority of grammar that people need for regular life. if you want to do the IELTS test or the TOEFL test, then you should keep working with more grammar, other grammar books. Go ahead and find some more advanced grammar books, right? I can recommend a few. But if you're not trying to do the IELTS or the TOEFL, then I would say the grammar books that you finish are good enough that you could now just start working on practicing the language, that you don't need to focus on the grammar now. You should focus on the vocabulary, the pronunciation, the reading, the writing, the listening, the speaking, and the thinking. Okay? But also, be careful when you say, I'm done with this, because almost every single time that my students say, I'm done with this, if I test you, I bet you're not done. If I test you on that material, I bet you won't have all the answers, and it won't be that quick for you. So that means maybe you're not done, right? Sometimes we are too quick to want to say, I finished that. That's easy. I'm done with that. Okay? How do I know if teaching is meant for me or right for me? Wow, that's a hard one, Noor. Teaching is a job that you should only do if you love to teach. If you love to help people figure out the problem. You love to help people have that, we call them aha moments, right? When you explain something to them and now they go, aha, oh, I see now. Those are aha moments, right? If you really love that, then you should be a teacher. But being a teacher is not always good in every place, right? So there are some schools where maybe I could go where I will feel very comfortable and I will feel supported as a teacher. But there are some schools that I could go work at where I will feel very isolated and very manipulated as a teacher, and very pressured and very overworked, right? So teaching is a calling, right? A calling, a vocation. It means vocation. Vocation is a word that means something that calls to you. That's why it's related to the word vocal. Your vocals, your voice, right? That's from the same word, voca, meaning voice, to the sound of your voice, okay? So, teaching is something that you do because you love it. However, that's the vocation part. That's the calling part of it, right? But then that means now you have to find a place that can use your calling. So find a place that appreciates your calling. Find a place that respects and admires and, what's the right word? Believes in your ability. Okay? Because you can be a great teacher, but be at a terrible place to teach. All right? I've seen that a lot. But you can also be a terrible teacher at a really great place to learn. I've seen that too. Okay? Ahura says, because maybe for 1 second I pause while speaking, it's kind of like a rumble strip in the road. Ahura, I pause when I'm speaking all the time. And if I remember right, Ahura, you're the musician, right? Space is what gives music life. Same thing in words. So when you have a minute and you need to stop to think, that's just space, man. That just increases the value of your words. Okay? Because people are now anticipating them more because you gave them space. Okay? So just because you have to stop for a minute to think, there's nothing wrong with that. You just added some space. Just be Miles Davis now. Okay? If someone is a beginner, if you are a beginner and you are new here, I would suggest you come and watch and listen a few times. Okay? I'm here a lot. I suggest you come watch and listen a few times. I answer a lot of questions. So you'll hear a lot of different tips here. Okay? That's my suggestion if you are new. All right? How to make passive sentences while speaking. I'm getting confused about active and passive. Okay, I want you to think about a boy and a ball. Okay? If I say, the boy kicked the ball, the boy is actively doing something. It's an action. He is kicking the ball, right? But what if I say the ball? I start with the ball. Now what should I say? We're talking about the ball, not the boy. So what do I say? The ball was kicked by the boy. The boy kicked the ball. The ball was kicked by the boy. Okay, so when you make it passive, you're not talking about the boy, or you're not talking about the boy anymore. You're now talking about the ball. When you talk about active is the person doing something. Passive is about the thing that's being used. Okay, the thing that's being used. Okay? He spoke into the microphone. The microphone was spoken into by him. He drank the coffee. The coffee was drank by him. Drank by him. I think. Yeah, anyway. You get the point, right? He used the phone. The phone was used by him. He played the piano. The piano was played by him. Okay? As Mozart says, the music is not about the notes you play, but it's the silence among them. That's right. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, honestly, Ahura, I wish more people would slow down when they speak. I wish more people would add more space and more rhythm to their language. I wish more people would consider their voice to be more like an instrument. It's a unique thing that can be developed to have your own sound. The music of your language, your voice, right? So when you say something like, I don't want to have a pause because I don't want to think about my words, you're saying I want to sound like everybody else. What if you just embrace it and you just say, okay, maybe I need to stop and think for a minute about my language. That's okay. That's just part of my sound now. Okay, I'm going to be more careful with my language. That's what I want you to be. I want you to be careful with your language. Okay? Thoughtful, not thoughtless. Careful, not careless. Okay? In passive, the grammar changes. That's why you're confused. It just takes practice, Shreya. Okay, I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to make it very easy for you. Okay? I want you to go here. GamesToLearnEnglish.com. Okay, now, I can't remember. Do they have an active and passive one? Wait a minute, let me see. Oh, this is the one I was looking for. Yeah, I'm sorry, not this one. This is a good one too. GamesToLearnEnglish.com has a lot of free games. These are all free. Okay? I thought that they had an active passive one, but I think they don't. It's not this page. There's another page, but I'm going to show it to you. But you should also go here, okay? Because this is a wonderful free website that you can practice basic English. All right? Basic and intermediate English. But there is another one. You can try this one. Let's see. Ooh, I don't know if I can put this link there. I think this link is too long. Oh, no, I think you can see that link. Can you see that whole link? Can you see the HTML? Okay, good. So go to that link, copy that link, and you'll find this. Okay? And look, it's a simple game. Which sentence is an example of the active voice? Harry ate 6 shrimp at dinner, or at dinner, 6 shrimp were eaten by Harry. A or B? A. That's active. Harry ate it. That's active, right? So here's a game, right? You can play this one. Correct. Okay, good. Right? Play. Oh, look at that. It's climbing the mountain. Which sentence is an example of the active voice? The savannah is roamed by beautiful giraffes. Beautiful giraffes roam the savannah. That would be this one. We're talking about the giraffes. Okay? All right, so there's one game that you can play, and there's another one. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this one. Bamboozle. Bamboozle is a game. It's a website where they have nothing but games. And you do have to pay for it if you want the full subscription, but they do have a lot that are free, like whoops. I can't type with my brace. Well, I can't type anyway, but oh, look at that. Active and passive voice games. Look at all the active and passive voice games. Let's try one. All right, so what does it say here? Play. So practice and recognize the active versus passive. So you just look at it and you just say, is it active or is it passive? Football is a popular sport in the United States. Is that active or passive? Okay, how about this one? Many movies are produced in Korea every year. Passive. There you go. Our office is cleaned every evening. Passive. The chef cooks excellent food. Active. Right? See? Now, if you just practice these games every day for a month, you'll be fine. Not even a month, a week. Okay? So, this is bamboozle.com. All right, if you go to Bamboozle, let me see, let's go back to Bamboozle. Whoops. This is what you want, right here. Okay, and you can type in anything. You can type in anything here. Whatever, math, science, history, English, French, German, whatever you want to learn, they have games. 4 million games made by teachers. Okay, now, like I said, not all of these are free. Not all of them are free. Some of them you have to subscribe to get, but many of them are free. Okay? And yes, bamboozle is a real life word. Bamboozle usually means to try to trick someone. To trick someone is to bamboozle them. I've been bamboozled means I've been tricked or I've been scammed. The word comes from either, there are a few different places that people think it could come from. One is from Scottish. There's two words, boombaza and bombaza, which means to confound or confound or perplex someone in Scottish. But then there's also the French word, I think it's embobigner, which means to make a fool of or to make a baboon of someone, like to make a monkey of someone. Or it could be the Italian word. I think this is possibly more likely. Bambolo or bamboccio or bambocciolo, which means a young babe. A young babe, like a small baby that's too innocent and they don't know, so they get tricked easily. You're confused about collective nouns such as a litter of clubs and a flock of sheep. So, Susu, this one, you don't really need to worry about it, okay? It's kind of like Chinese, right? So, Chinese has a bunch of counting words, right? If I want to say one piece of paper, right? Each, right? One like flat thing, right? A flat thing, right? But they also have g, right? G is like the general one. So if I don't know the right counting word in Chinese, then I just say g, and people, they know what you mean. Nobody cares really, right? Not really. It's not that critical, okay? The same thing is true most of the time in English, okay? Many of those words, like litter, litter doesn't come up that often. It only comes up, maybe you have a dog or a cat, right? And your cat or dog is going to have babies. That's when we use that word. We say, oh, my dog had a litter of babies. Of puppies, sorry. We would say, right? Or of kittens. A litter of kittens, a litter of puppies. Meaning, litter means that this is an animal that doesn't have just one baby. They have many. Okay? But it doesn't come up very often, right? It's not that common, right? Flock of sheep. Again, it doesn't come up that much, right? How often are we talking about a flock of sheep anymore? School of fish. School of fish. I like that one. I always thought that one was fun. But again, yes, in all of those situations, you can say a group of sheep, a group of cows, a group of fish, and no one will be confused by that. And many people, they might know why you use the word group, just like in Chinese, they know why I use the word ge for a general classifier, right? They just know, oh, he doesn't know the right word, so he's just using ge. That's fine, right? So, but I would say, Susu, that it's not that important to know those particular collective noun counting words. They're not that important to know. And then on top of that, I would say this is one that many, many natives don't know, right? When I teach this to my students and I show them, for example, both of those Saddleback Publishing Basic English Grammar books, book 1 and 2, they both have some examples of these words in them that are very uncommon, that most people don't know or use, right? So there are some natives that wouldn't know them, okay? My cup is really big. Yes, I like big cups, and I do not lie. Hello, Mona. Shreya, I usually start somewhere around 9:30 or 10:30 a.m. New York City time. Okay, I don't live in New York City. I'm very far away from New York City, but I'm the same time zone as New York City time. So if you can see what time it is in New York City, 9:30 or 10:30 in the morning, that's what time it is where I live. Figure out what time that is where you live, and that's when I start. Okay? And hello, Waleed. I hope you're feeling better, my friend. Am I accepting lyrics, people to the stage today? Sure. You guys caught the lyrics. I'm surprised you guys caught those lyrics. I like big cups and I cannot lie. Those other teachers can't deny. Angelica, sure. Yes, if you want to come on stage, sure. Why not? What happened to my mouse? Now my mouse is not working. There it is. Now it's working.
Hi, how are you, Teacher Mark?
Hello, how are you?
Great, thanks for asking. What are you teaching today?
I never know what I'm teaching. I teach whatever I'm asked to teach. So whenever I show up, I always answer questions. You know, people ask me questions and I answer them. So it might be grammar, it might be vocabulary, it might be pronunciation, could be reading, writing, listening, speaking, everything. I don't usually prepare too many materials when I teach here, because that's what I do when I get paid.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So when I'm not being paid, I just show up and I try to be helpful, right? I try to just be, basically, I pretend like I'm an AI, you know, just come and ask the AI whatever you want to know, and I will do my best to answer. And it's funny because when you say that about a person, everybody goes, oh, okay, I understand. I'll ask him some questions and see what he thinks and what his ideas are. But nobody expects me to have every answer or to know everything or to be right all the time. Nobody expects me to be like that. That would mean that you're expecting me to be a god. Right? But I feel like that's what we're doing with AI, is that AI is not perfect. Okay, fine. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect either. Right? And it is not a god, and I'm not a god either. Right? So we should look at it and say, like, look, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it can be pretty helpful, can be pretty useful. You know, just like a teacher. If you have access to a teacher, that's what I tell people is, if I told you, hey, I will come live with you in your house and I will pay for it myself, and you don't have to pay me any money, and 24 hours a day I'm available, you can just come ask Teacher Mark questions. Whatever questions you have about life, you can knock on my door and say, Teacher Mark, I want to ask you about this, and I'm there. Even if it's 3 a.m, you can wake me up and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Everybody will say, oh, wow, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I want to do that. But then I tell them, that's AI. That's already, you can do that now. You can do that right now. You just aren't. You just are, you're very skeptical about it. And it's good to be skeptical. But the word skeptical is kind of a funny thing. Do you know the word skeptical?
No, could you type it in the chat, please?
Yeah, sure. Hold on. Skeptical.
Skeptical. I am going to translate to Spanish. Because I don't know how to shake it. I think that I have an idea, but I'm not sure if it's the right word.
It's
okay, yeah, it's pretty similar to Spanish, yeah.
right.
Now
Yeah, it's because it comes from the Latin word, or actually, I'm sorry, before Latin, the Greek word, skeptikos, and skeptikos, it means a follower of the skeptics, and the people. This is a group of people from a long time ago in Greece, and they were called the skeptics. They were a group of people that they believed in really thinking about everything, questioning everything. Like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we should accept that. They were skeptical about everything, right? So that's where the word skeptical comes from. But these people were actually kind of interesting because it's good to be skeptical. You should be skeptical. You shouldn't just accept everything, right? But you also shouldn't just reject everything all the time either. And the skeptics were kind of interesting because they were wise in one way, because they were always trying to question and think about whether this is real or true. But sometimes they questioned things so much that they were hurting themselves. Like, there are some times when you're questioning things that you don't need to question. Is an apple good to eat? Yes, eat it. You know, like that's, you don't need to keep asking that question every day for the rest of your life, right? Now, a rotten apple, that's different. It's a rotten apple, right? But if it looks like it's a fresh apple, you don't need to keep asking that question every day and keep questioning, should I eat this apple? But that's the bad part of being a skeptic. Sometimes when you're a skeptic, you're like, why are you doubting everything? Don't, So it's one of those things where you need to kind of be right in the middle, right? I want you to be a little skeptical. I want you to talk about should I believe this or not? Do I know this is true? Do I know all the information? Is he reliable? Right? Is it reliable? All of these things. But at the same time, if you have knowledge that this person is a good person to get answers from, I keep coming here and he keeps giving me good answers. Well, now you have some trust. Trust is something that you can build that makes skepticism go away. If you build trust, you don't have to be skeptical because you trust me now, right? That's what's so great about a teacher. When you find a teacher that you like, you feel like, oh, wow, that answer was great. I want to hear more. I bet more of his answers are great too. Now you feel less skeptical, right? Mm-hmm. But if I give a bad answer, then you go, maybe this guy's not so good, So that's the skeptical nature of logic. You have to think about it a little bit, but don't doubt everything just to be a doubting Tom, we call that. A doubting Tom is somebody who is, it's an English idiom. It means somebody who doubts everything for no good reason. A doubting Tom.
That reminds me about Socrates, that he said something like, I just know that I don't know nothing. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I only know that I don't know. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that in psychology, sometimes we use some kind of questions because people, when people are talking to psychologists, they think that psychologists just give advices, but that's not true. We don't give advices. We try to guide patients to the right answer.
Yeah, it's funny, but being a psychologist and being a teacher, very, very similar. Because being a teacher, Sometimes people think that being a teacher is I just tell you the answers. I tell you what to do. I tell you this is how it works. Sure, there are a lot of teachers who do that, but not my favorite ones. My favorite teachers were the ones who, when I asked them a question, how this works, they would ask me a question to make me figure out how this works. They would say, well, think about it. What do you think is happening here? Why do you think this happens? What do you think this means? And that's the same thing a good psychologist does. A good psychologist will wait for you to say something. They'll listen, right? And then they'll say, well, why do you think you were feeling that way that day? Or what do you think it means when you get angry like that? You know, what do you think it means, right? And they're trying to tease it out of you, right? They're trying to pull the information out of you. They're not trying to just say, here's the answer. They're trying to get you to give it to them, right? And that's being a teacher is the same thing. I have to do the same thing. If I just give you the answers, you won't learn. But if I make you find it, you will.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's because I do a lot of things in my life. I graduated of psychology 5 years ago, but some people have told me that I have a good talent for teaching other people other things, even English. So I am currently teaching English for kids,
Good for you.
and it's challenging
It is challenging.
yeah, because they sometimes just want to play and play, and sometimes I have to change the methodology of my classes because I want that they pay attention, but at the same time have fun. So
Well,
Yeah.
what age do you teach?
they are between 12 and I have teenagers too.
Okay.
So 15, 16, yeah.
Okay. So that's a little tricky because between the ages of 5 and 12, teaching English is 50% teaching and 50% being a clown.
But I love to be a clown.
Yeah. You have to be. If you can't be funny and be fun and have fun and make games, you can't be a teacher. You really need to be able to do that to be a teacher. But when you get to be about 13 to 18, that's when, well, two things happen. One, you have to stop being so much of a clown. You have to start making them understand that it's time to be serious now, that you can't always be funny when you're trying to do serious things now, right? So put it this way. They don't want to be treated like a baby, right? Kids at that age, they don't like to be treated like a baby, right? So you have to use that psychology on them, and you have to say like, all right, well, look, you don't want to be treated like a baby anymore, right? You always talk about how you want to be treated like an adult, right? Well, then we can't be playing these baby games anymore. We have to step up and do something like the adults do. So make up a choice. Take a diaper or take a book.
Wow, that's clever. That's a clever answer.
You know, and that way they can, you know, the kids will, that's using psychology. Now that goes to the second part of what happens between the ages of 13 and 18. That's the age of no. That's the age of no. And the reason why that's the age of no is because children feel powerless. Children feel powerless. And when they're between the ages of 5, you know, like, no, between the ages of 1 to 12, they generally feel protected. And that's not their job. They're being protected at that point, right? But once they reach that age of around 12, 13, that's when they start to assert themselves as little adults, right? They want to be older. They don't want to be a baby anymore, right? And how do you assert yourself? By saying no. So, power comes from saying no. That's the first thing that we learn about power is just, I don't want to. No, I don't want to do that. You know, right? So that's what kids become very defiant between that age, around 12, 13 to 17, 18. They're very defiant, because their defiance is also becoming independence. When you say, no, I don't want to do it your way, you also have to say, I want to do it my way, right? So they're learning how to be their own person, right? But part of learning how to be your own person is saying, no, I don't want to do it your way. I don't want to do it like you. And so that's part of why it becomes tricky and harder to teach at this age, because at that age, defiance is part of your personality. As a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter. You're asserting yourself, you're learning, and then on top of that, you add hormones. And that's when it just becomes even more complicated, right? Because before 12, there's not many hormones going on. It's easy. You're just, they're kids, right? They're still kids. After 12, 13, then you start getting hormones, and kids are literally, they're having a chemical imbalance in front of you. They're changing. Their brains are changing chemically at that age. And it's a lot to deal with. Like, I don't know if you can remember what it feels like, but I can. I can remember feeling all those emotions that just felt like they were out of control all the time when I was, 15 years old. And I had so much energy that I didn't know what to do with. Energy's not really the word. I'm not sure what the right word would be. Just, it's like you have a bunch of fire, you have something that wants to go somewhere, but you don't know where to go. That's what it feels like. When you're 13, when you're 14, when you're 15, you have all this sense of, I wanna, but you don't know how to finish that sentence, right? You just know that you want something, right? And that's why it makes it really hard to teach that age, because you're dealing with a lot more psychology, a lot more hormonal changes that you have to consider. You can't just ignore that. You have to consider that. For example, it's one of the reasons why in America we don't teach languages, a second language, until high school, and that's why it fails every time. Because in high school, you're 14, 15 years old is usually when you start, right? 15, let's say, freshman year, right? When you're 15 years old, are you very confident? No. When you're 15 years old, do you feel very, very like, oh, I can do this, no problem? No. Do you worry about what people think at 15 years old? Do you worry about what all the other kids in the class think at 15 years old? Are you worried about your reputation? Are you worried about saying the wrong thing or looking bad or being embarrassed? Yeah. And if you're worried about being embarrassed, you cannot learn a new language. Because you have to say funny words that you don't know how to say, and you don't know the right way to say it, so you're going to sound stupid. So you have to be willing to be able to sound stupid. But see, kids, when they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they love being stupid. They love to feel like, that sounds funny and sounds weird and sounds dumb. I love that. It's funny, right? Mm-hmm. But then they turn 13 and now they said something the wrong way, and now people laughed at them in front of the class, and now they have a tantrum. Oh, you laughed at me. It becomes a thing because now they're embarrassed, right? They're worried about their reputation. Right?
Yeah.
But
I think that the problem with some schools is that, well, we have a lot of subjects, mathematics, Spanish, science, but there are few moments when a teacher, or at least it happened with my experience, when a teacher told me, okay, nothing happened if you have the wrong answer. It's just part of the life. Don't get frustrated a lot. Because when I was at high school, I want to be the best student. and I didn't control myself, and I had migraines, a lot of stress, and I went to the hospital just for that reason.
Ooh.
So it's pretty important. And now that I am a teacher, I always tell my students that they don't take very serious when they have mistakes. At least when I am giving personal English classes, or if I am teaching someone Spanish, I tell that it's funny if you don't pronounce well at the beginning. You're doing something great for yourself, and you should feel proud of that. And that's why I think that every person that is learning a new language or a new sport or everything, they should feel proud instead of feel frustrated a lot
Yeah.
when.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, learning a language is a funny thing. For example, like babies. Do you know why the world, if you go around the world, all around the world, there's one word that's pretty much the same in every language? Do you know what it is?
But no, no, I don't. Baby, was it?
Mama.
Ah, mama, mom. Ah, yeah.
Almost every language, the word mama. In Chinese, it's ma. In English, it's mother, mommy, right? Mama in many languages, right? And yeah, papa, right? But why? Why mama is the same in almost every language across the world? There's only one word that does this. It's this word. And the reason why is because babies are, when they first explore language, they don't know any vocabulary. They don't know anything. They only know that they can make sounds, right? They only know that they can make blah, 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 right? That's what they do, right? That's what babies do. And so what's the first sound that a baby can make? Ma, 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 ma. That's sound number one that is created by babies. And then when the mother hears that word and the mother hears ma, 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 then what does the mother do? Oh, look, it means mommy. He wants mommy. So around the world, everybody has seen the baby play with the sound and create that first sound, ma, and that becomes the word mother. But why am I telling you this? Is because I'm just showing you that this is about, it's about playing with sound to find what's right. It's about playing with it to figure it out, right? And that's why I teach my students that they should think about learning like a scientist. When a scientist is doing experiments, maybe a scientist has a theory. They have to prove that theory, and they prove that theory by doing experiments. But when a scientist does experiments, scientists are always more interested in their failures than they are in their successes. Because if they do an experiment and it goes well, then they didn't learn anything. It worked like they thought it was going to work. That's all they learned. They learned that it did what they thought it was going to do. But if it fails, then they learn something new. They figure out, well, why did this happen? Why did that fail? What went wrong? What was this? What should I know that I didn't know? Right? So that's what I teach my students, is that we learn in school that failure is wrong because school teaches us that you have to take a test, right? And that, okay, we're under a time limit, so you have to get the right answer under this time limit. But that's not really how learning is in real life. Learning is not about a time limit, it's about understanding. And so you want your students to find the answers and to get them. And sometimes to find the answer, you have to fall down a few times to get there, right? And that's why the word understand is a funny word. I always explain this to people because most people don't know that the word understand, what does it mean? Under. Why does it say under? Under. What's under? What is the under in understand? You're not under anything, are you? No. It's called understand because a long time ago the word under had more than one meaning. It used to mean below or in the middle of. So when you understand something, you're standing in the middle of it and you can see it clearly. So to reach understanding, it takes time. You have to get to that place where you can see everything clearly. So I teach my students that understanding is like going through the forest where you have no path. You have to make a path. You have to find a path. And sometimes you go the wrong way. That's okay. You come back and you go the right way, or you find another way, right? And if you're lucky, you follow the path that has come before, right? You say, oh, look, everybody's already studied this thing. Let me just do what they did. That's great. Let me learn what they learned, right? That's why they say, if I have seen further, it's only by standing on the shoulders of those who have come before me. So that's what we say. It means like, I'm not doing it just me. I'm learning from the people who came before me. Because why shouldn't I? I don't need to waste my time doing everything new. It's already been done. Let them do that work. I can do something else, right? I can learn from them.
Sometimes we are always too afraid to have mistakes. But if you're not that is something good in your life, that for example, exercise, new talent, play an instrument, we should go for it. Mark, I have the last question for you. That is, which are the 3 best advices that you should give to people, not necessarily with languages, I mean in general, at this point of your life? What are those 3 best advices that you should tell anyone?
Okay. I would say it's never been more important to be you. Be yourself. Because there's only one you. You can't be somebody else better than you. So be yourself, right? And that means you have to learn about who you are. Most people spend life trying to learn about who other people are, but very few people spend much time learning about who you are. And it's really important that you figure out why you act the way you do, why you are the way you are. If you understand that, when you go through life making less damage and being more helpful. Right? And this is important because I'm not only trying to help people be helpful, but I'm also trying to help people make less damage. And if you don't know yourself, if you don't understand yourself, you make a lot of damage for other people, right? So like, sometimes people say like, I want to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend or this or that, or I need somebody, in my life or something. And I understand feeling lonely. I understand that. But what I know, and I have learned the hard way, that you have to make yourself ready for the right person. Because if the right person comes along and you're not ready, then it won't work. So, and this is not just about relationships. This is about life. This is about your career. If you make yourself ready for your career, then your career will be ready for you. If you make yourself ready for your partner, then your partner will be ready for you. But if you don't make yourself ready, then you won't. So when I was a boy, we were in the Boy Scouts. I was in the Boy Scouts. We would go out and camping and we'd learn all this stuff in the woods. But the Boy Scout motto, the #1 motto, and I still think it's the greatest motto of all time, is just 2 words. be prepared. Be prepared. That's it. When you go camping, be prepared, right? So this is a good idea because it just means you have to be prepared for what's coming in life. And if you want to be prepared for what's coming, you have to think about it first. It's the difference between chess and checkers. Checkers, you only think about one move at a time. Do you know what checkers is? The two games? Okay.
Yes, I know.
Okay,
but checker-
checkers is the one with the red and the black board, and you have the little pieces, and you just move one time, right? You know that game? Very easy game. Kids play that game a lot, right? Checkers, you don't have to think. It's just boom, 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 boom. You're just thinking one move, one move, one move. That's it, right? Most of the time. Chess, you're not just thinking of one move. You're thinking of, well, if I do this, then he's going to do this. If I do this, then he's going to do this. And if I do this, then he's going to do that, right? Like you have to think about all the moves ahead of time. And guess what? That's the reason why the game chess has been studied for thousands of years. I'm not joking when I say that to be a medieval knight in Europe, if you wanted to be a knight, to be a knight, one of the things that you had to study was chess. Chess taught you strategy. Chess taught you how to think ahead. Chess taught you how to think logically and strategically about your life. Right? So, what I would say is that so many people go through life blind because they've always looked outward and never looked inward. Right? And they're only seeing what their eyes show them. They're not seeing what their heart or their mind could show them. Right? And you have to think. Contemplation is the secret of learning. You have to sit and think. Sitting and thinking is important in life, right? This is why I love to do yard work, right? When I'm cutting the grass, but man, I have some of my best thoughts, some of my best ideas, my best teaching moments, my best thoughts about like, oh, I'm going to change this and do this. Oh, I have this theory. I'm going to write this article. It happens when I'm doing stupid labor, right? Like my mind is free because my body is busy. So that's a trick I use, right? And then the last piece of advice I would tell people is that I think it's sad how few people find their passion in life. That I think that everybody, every single person in this world has talents. Not one, many. But very, very few find them, and even fewer pursue them and make them part of their life. But every talent is a gift to yourself and the world. That if you have a talent, it's a gift that you can share. You can share that talent with the world. That's what a talent is, in my opinion. It's a skill that's a gift that you can share. Okay? And Bob Ross is a famous American painter who used to teach painting on TV. You know him? Yeah. And he has one of my favorite quotes that he used to say is, talent is a pursued interest. And what that means is some people say, oh, he's so talented, but I'm not talented like that. She's so talented, but I'm not talented like that. And you think that talented is some special thing that only some special people have. But talent is just hard work over time.
Yeah, it's true. I think that sometimes we let our whole life that other people tell us which things do. For example, since we were babies, our mother or our father tell us what is wrong or not, and when we're at school again. And sometimes some people don't decide what they want to do in their life because their parents already told them what to study or in what kind of jobs they want to work. But I think that it's important, as you mentioned, that we find our own passions. and that also it doesn't mean that we need to be against the whole world when people give us advices, but it means that we need to find what things make us happy. It could be cooking, it could be drawing, it could be teaching.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we're not the best at the beginning, it doesn't matter, because it's when we are learning to ride a bicycle.
Yeah,
And
and you know, the thing is that learning is the point. Learning is the reward. Learning is the result. So sometimes people think that you shouldn't do something unless you're going to be really good at it. But no, that's not true. Like, look, I am not that good at soccer, but maybe I play. Right? Like, I don't think I'm going to be a famous, soccer player, but I still enjoy playing, and I get something out of it, right? So the point is that there are some things that you can do. There's a famous American author. His name is Kurt Vonnegut. He's a famous science fiction author. And he has a story that I like that he told about when he was a boy. And he went on this like archaeological dig where he went to go see an archaeologist dig something and watch, right, and help, right? And the archaeologist was talking to him, and he was like, I don't know, 15 or something. And Kurt Vonnegut is telling him about himself, well, I'm 15 and I like to read and I like to write stories and I like to play the piano and I like to do this. And he's telling him all these things he likes to do. And the archaeologist said, wow, that's amazing. It's really incredible. And then Kurt Vonnegut said, yeah, but I'm not really good at any of them. And the archaeologist said, oh, but I wasn't saying it's amazing because you're a master of any of those. I was saying it's amazing because you must be a very interesting person if you've done all those things. And that's the point, is that doing things and trying something new, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to become the next greatest person that does that thing. No, there's value in just doing it to learn what it's about. There's value in just doing it to just see, maybe I'm good at it, maybe I'm bad at it, maybe I can't do it well, maybe I can do it well. Maybe it's similar to something I already do. Maybe it's very unique. You can learn. That's the point. Learning is not always about being an expert. Learning is just about growing.
Yeah, it's true. I think that those advices were very valuable. I think that not just for me, I think that for the whole audience that is listening to you. So thank you so much for first allowing me to talk with you, because since I joined to this app, I think that what makes you feel happy when I listen to you is that you don't just talk about, I don't know, English. You just talk about lessons of life. And that is something that really impressed me about you as a person and also as a professional. So that's pretty amazing, Mark. And with that being said, I am going to say goodbye because I have to do some things. But
Okay.
Thank you so much, and I hope we can talk soon.
Thank you very much, Angelica. That's very sweet of you to say. I appreciate it. It's weird. I don't try to be like that. I'm not going out of my way to be philosophical or to teach these life lessons, but it's just what happens. I have always thought of learning as a conceptual things. Everything is a concept. And even when I was a boy, 14, 15 years old, I was the exact same way as I am now, that I had these ideas that I wanted to put down and then explain and show just a concept. It's a viewpoint. And these are not, so it's not a lesson like a grammar lesson, or something. They're big picture ideas. They're big picture things, right? And it's just how I've always been. Even when I taught drums, same thing. All of my drum students will say the same thing, that they loved my lessons, but that it was because I would teach them about music, like big lessons, not just this one beat on the page. It was big ideas that they liked. And I don't try to do it. It just happens. But I'm glad that people like it. I just wish I knew how to put it in a bottle. So anyway, thank you for your time and your questions. And it's nice to see somebody who has a passion for being a good teacher. So your students are lucky.
No, thank you.
And come back and see me again sometime, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We will talk to them.
Bye-bye.
Bye, people. Thank you, sure. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, let's see. Did I miss any comments or questions? That was a nice little conversation. I'm just going back to review and see if I missed any comments or questions. My wrist, I sprained my wrist when I was lifting a heavy generator. It's okay. I just need to wear a brace for a week or two, maybe. And oh yeah, by the way, yeah, to all my followers in Colombia, I hope you're okay. I saw the videos were crazy, man. That was a crazy strong earthquake, and in Sumatra too, right? For me, it was very hard to teach teenagers. I was getting crazy. Carolina, here's what I've figured out about teaching teenagers. You have to do it in small groups, or you have to be able to teach them in two ways, as a group and individually. So, for example, if I have a group class, like 20 or 30 students in a class, right? In that environment, they have all the power because that's a teenage group. That's a group of teenagers. They are a little mafia. They're a little group of terrorists. They want to create a group of insiders and outsiders. They want to create a group that you're not a part of, right? So it becomes confrontational, right? At that stage, they are developing their own sense of independence, and that means they have to tell some people that they are outsiders, and it's confrontational, right? But if you can teach them in a one-on-one environment also, right? Like if they have one-on-one private lessons with you and they're in the group, now they won't do it because they know they have to see you privately. They know they have to see you individually. So if they mess up in the group, they're going to hear about it in their private lesson. So they don't do it in their group. Or what I'll do is if I have a group of 25 kids, I will take that group of kids and I will randomly select 5 and create random groups of 5, which what that does is it breaks up the power structure of their cliques. Because kids are developing their own social groups at that age too, right? Kids develop social groups from the very, very beginning, even in grade school and kindergarten. But by high school, the social groups are very important and they are structural, right? So what happens is, let's say you have a group of boys that are always together and they're always making jokes and they're always causing trouble. as long as that group of boys is together, they're going to be a problem. But if you break them up and you put one boy over into this group and one boy over into that group and one boy over here, now you've dissipated their power. You've broken up their power, their structure, and so now they can't fight against you as well. I hate to put it that way, but that's the way you kind of have to look at it, right? Strategically. So you have to figure out a way to break their power structure. And then they just have to act as an individual, and then they are on even ground again. That's the secret, is once you get to high school, you're dealing with group dynamics, group social dynamics, and that adds a much higher level of difficulty to teaching. But if you can make them remember their individual dynamics, then you'll be okay. Okay, anyway. How can you attempt a good essay? Well, I would say you need to start practicing writing essays. Writing a good essay is like doing anything good. Okay, if you do something well, that means you've practiced a lot. That's why you do it well. So if you want to be good, then be prolific. If you want to be good, be prolific. Prolific means you make a lot of that thing. So if you want to be a writer, then you better write prolifically. If you want to be a singer, then you better sing prolifically. If you want to be a runner, then you'd better run prolifically. If you want to write a good essay, then you better write essays prolifically. Okay? Okay, welcome Isabella, who's starting English at 43. Good for you. Su Jung says, I think some learners cannot listen to basic expressions. That's true. Some can't. All right, let's see. And Carolina says, advice is uncountable. It's funny, Carolina, because it's uncountable in American English and it's countable in UK English. So in Europe, they might say he gives good advices, but in America, we will say he gives good advice. One celebrity did a speech at MIT. He said the graduate students that they shouldn't waste their talents to earn lots of money and care more about helping people and care more about things that can really improve the life of human beings. Yeah, that's because they did a study and like more than, I can't remember, I think it was 75%, more than 75% of the graduates of Ivy League schools, they go to, you know, Wall Street, or they go to corporate law, or they go to doing something that is not for society. They do something that is for themselves or for a very small group of people, a very, very small group of very rich people. So we're trying to get people to understand. You know, it's kind of funny. That's why it's so important that you should care about what you do. The world is a better place if everyone actually likes their job. I know this sounds like crazy talk to you, but to me, the world should be a place where every single job is either done by somebody who likes that thing, or they pay them very, very well to like that thing, right? So Duke Ellington is a famous jazz composer and musician from American history. And he said, to have a band, you need a gimmick to keep them together. And the gimmick that I use is I pay them. So what he's saying is that if you like something, then you do it because you like it. You already like it. You do it because you like it. So why am I here? Nobody's paying me right now. Nobody is paying me. So why am I here? Because I like teaching. Funny how that works, right? But if you don't like it, then they need to pay you enough to like it. Yeah, but we should. More people should be doing things. They should be looking at their gift as they should be looking at their talents and skills as a gift to give to society and not as a skill to extract wealth from society. If we look at our skills as something to use to get things from society, then we're looking at it like we're only trying to take care of ourselves. Okay, that makes sense when you're by yourself. If you're by yourself, then it makes sense to take care of only yourself. But if you're not by yourself, then you should consider the other people around you. And if you look at your skills and talents not as a thing to use so that you can extract wealth for yourself, but instead you look at your gifts and skills as things that you can give as a gift to society to make society more wealthy. To make society better. How funny is that? So weird. One way one person benefits, the other way everybody benefits. Being selfish makes sense when you're alone. But if you're not, okay. All right. Unfortunately, Waleed, because of this, I think I can't even really play drums for a little while. I got to take a break for at least a week because I can't hit anything with this right now. My foot is actually injured too. My right foot, my right toe is strained also. So I can't really play drums that well. Ocean wants to know, do I speak the same way as I'm speaking now? Do I change my pronunciation and accent a little bit? In real life, I speak like this anytime that I want someone to listen to me. So, if I really want people to listen to me, I speak like this. But in my daily life, I don't usually need people to listen to me. So I just speak, hey, what's up, man? Hey, yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, we can hit the store later. All right, great. I'll see you at 4. Okay? In daily life, I'm much more casual. Okay? But anytime I need to be heard, if I want people to listen to me, then I will use the magic of language to make them listen to me. Okay? Sarvin Nas wants to know, have I ever bullied? Are you asking me, have I ever bullied someone else? Or are you asking me, have I ever been bullied by someone? Those are two different things. Prolific and productive, are they the same? Not exactly the same, no. They're similar, Rex, but not exactly the same. To be productive means to produce. That's right, yeah, but producing could be a little bit more broad. Prolific is a little bit more specific about creating something. So productive could just be, I had a productive day today. I went to the store, I got some groceries, I cut the grass, I painted my house, whatever. I did many things. Okay, I was very productive. Okay, right? But then prolific is more like, I made many, many stories, right? I wrote 100 stories. That's prolific, right? So there is a slight difference between prolific and productive, okay? Yeah, similar meaning, not quite the same. Not quite the same. Very similar, though. And, I can think of maybe a couple of situations, Rex, where you might be able to use those words interchangeably. But in most cases, I think there is a slight difference, that prolific is just more about making a lot of something, right? Doing that thing a lot, okay? But being productive, when I hear that word, I think more of just being useful, right? Like not being lazy, right? So you can be productive, but still not make a lot of something. But you can't be prolific and not make a lot of something. Prolific is all about making a lot of something. Okay, now, if you are new, how many of you are new? Who's new? Everything you need to know about me is in this file, right there. Waleed is new. You're not new, Waleed. So if you don't know who I am and you want to know who I am, then read that file, okay? My schedule is in the file, okay? If you want to know my schedule, get the file. If you want to know my background, get the file. I have been here for how many years? It's in there. Get the file, right? I've been on this app for about 12 years. I've been live streaming here for about 5 years, and I've done almost 1,500 live streams, and I have about 91,000 followers. So many, many, many people come regularly. Okay, so who's a regular here? Who's a regular? Say me if you're a regular. If you come all the time, who's a regular? Tell me. Yeah, see, Samira, Susu, Language Warrior, Linda, Nora, Waleed, Jack. These are people who come all the time. I don't really know why they come all the time, but they do. So, yeah, if you want to learn, come and watch and listen and ask good questions or just listen, okay? You should pretend like this is a classroom. This is a classroom. You walked into a classroom. So if you walk into a classroom and you see a teacher who's teaching and he's talking in the middle of teaching, he's already teaching something. So what should you do? Yeah, Luan. Yeah. Just listen. Right? Just go sit and listen for a little while and find out what's going on, right? And remember that there are always people in my class who are here all the time. There are always people here who come all the time, right? So maybe you should hold your questions a little bit. Hold your questions. Because you can imagine every time I teach, somebody says, how can I learn English? How can I be fluent? How can I be better? Like every time I teach, somebody is new and says, hey, how can I learn English? It's much better if you just pretend like this is a classroom and I'm here teaching, right? So just come and listen, all right? And pay attention. You'll see people ask me good questions. They ask me questions about vocabulary, right? Like, what's the difference between this word or this word? Or can you explain this word? I don't understand how to use this word, right? Or they ask about pronunciation. How do I say this word? Can you pronounce this word for me? Or they ask about grammar. Can you explain this tense to me? I don't understand how to use this tense, right? So listen to the questions that people ask. Okay? I have a YouTube channel. It's in my blog. It's in my file. I have a YouTube channel. I have a website. I have a blog. All three of those are in my file. Okay? My hand is fine. I strained my hand when I was lifting something heavy. It's not a big deal. It'll be fine in a week. Why do I speak in such simple words so you can understand mostly? Chinese learning English wants to know. 这是因为我是英文老师，所以我说的英文非常好。跟我也是很好的老师，我感觉很多人，他们确定。I am a teacher. So, of course, my English is better because I want it to be better. Okay? If you're a teacher of English, then you should speak English pretty well, right? And what do they say in Chinese? What is it? 少鸡识多. No, 少鸡识多. 少鸡识多. Is that the correct pronunciation? I think. 少鸡识多. 少鸡识多. 对不对? Or 一见于饭. No. Or yes. Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. 少即是多. 对. Yeah, less is more. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes simple words spoken well are always better than complicated words spoken poorly. Okay? I did not say that, Elf. 不是说你说我不说 Or what's the, here's another one. Here's another good one. Oh, I like this one better. 少字地多字货对不对 no 少字地多字货 I never know this character. Sometimes it's D, sometimes it's duh. I don't know how to pronounce it. Wait, let me see if I can make it work. This one.
少则的，多则惑。
少则的，多则惑，对不对 That's it. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, see that one character.
少则的，多则惑。
Duh. Sometimes it's duh and sometimes it's D, right? Like, and yeah, I never know which one, I never know how to pronounce it. I don't know that trick yet. I haven't figured out what's the trick to know when you're supposed to pronounce it as D and when you're pronounce it as duh. Duh. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's not Chinese class. Don't worry about my Chinese. You Chinese people don't say it? Oh, but see, that's why I want to say it. If you tell me Chinese people don't usually say that, that's why I will say it. Oh, you mean my dictionary is not saying the right tone? It should be D and not duh? I don't know. Whatever. Susu, you can teach me in free time. Oh, the tone. Oh, got it. Yeah, anyway. Okay. It doesn't seem like anybody's asking me any questions anymore. Hello to the people over in YouTube. I think my Chinese has gotten much worse. I stopped practicing. I stopped working on it recently, and I need to get back to making it part of my life again. But it's not a priority right now. All right, Ahura, what's your question? I need to think in Chinese. That's right, I do. I need to think in Chinese about something new. I still think in Chinese, but I always think about the same things, so it's not really helping me. But I need to push myself to try to think some new things. So I'll figure out a creative way to do that. Oh. I tell everybody that I speak really bad Chinese really well. It's good enough for me, you know, and it'll get better. I'm still working on it. I'm not finished because you know me. There is no finished, right? There is no finished. But I can speak. I can make sentences. I can tell you how I feel about things in Chinese. Maybe I make some tones wrong occasionally or say something in a funny way that no native person would say it that way. But I don't care. I really don't. I only care if you understand what I'm trying to say. That's it. So. And did you know it's actually hard? It's harder. Do you know why it's harder to learn Chinese? I'll tell you why it's harder to learn Chinese. There's a cultural reason why it's harder to learn Chinese. Because Chinese people will never correct you. Chinese people do not correct other people. It's not part of the culture. It's definitely not considered. If you're older than the other person, definitely don't correct that person. And if it might embarrass them, definitely don't correct that person. Right? So that's the reason why it's harder to learn Chinese, because if I say something wrong in Chinese, if they understand me, they will say, "Oh, wow, your Chinese is so good." That's it. They won't correct me or say, "Oh, I know what you're trying to say, but you should say it this way." They won't do that. They never do that, ever. In my entire career of learning Chinese, I don't think I've ever had anybody stop me and say, "Oh, well, you almost got it right, but maybe try it this way." Never. Susu says we are good at understanding bad tones also, but that's because the tones in Chinese are not as important as they say they are. Do you know how I know that? Because you don't sing them when you have songs. Chinese songs, pop Chinese songs, have no tones. Traditional Chinese music, if you listen to old traditional Chinese singing, it does have tones. But modern traditional pop music, they sing with no tones. It's all context. It's all context. So, and here's the other thing that I know. If you say Chinese slowly, they won't understand you. But if you say it quickly, they will. And it's because when they say them quickly, the tones don't matter that much. They're listening to the context of the sounds next to each other, right? So it's all context of tone, or context of sound that's telling them, not tonal context, right? So, Susu, for example, when Chinese pop singers sing Chinese songs, if they hold a note, right? If they have to hold a note, right? Like when they sing the word for love, right? What's the tone of love in Chinese? Down, right? Okay, but do they always sing it as a down tone? No. Do they sing any of the other tones? No. No, they don't. No, they don't. In singing, there are no tones. There's no tones in singing. You can learn Chinese songs and you don't have to worry about any of the tones. Right? If you can learn Chinese karaoke, then you can learn Chinese. So the tones do matter, but it's funny because if you slow down, the tones matter more. If you speed up, the tones matter less. If you're singing, the tones don't matter at all because they know it's all about context. So that means that when Chinese people are aware of the context, they don't need the tones. So the tones add meaning, but are not always critical. So, yeah. Like, for example, if there's a Chinese song with the word water in it, do they say shui when they sing it? No, they don't do a tone. No, right? So the tones in Chinese are really interesting because, yeah, they matter, but sometimes if you tell people to focus on the tones too much, you make it much harder. So I'll tell you what this is like. I'll tell you what it's like. It's like going reverse in your car, right? When you learn how to drive, if you go in reverse in your car, when you're young, you think, oh, I'm going to go slower because if I go slower, it will be safer and easier, right? So you think going slower will be better, but you're wrong. When you go slower in reverse, every little turn that you make makes a bigger mistake. You have more time to make mistakes, and each mistake you make is bigger, right? But if you go just a little bit faster when you go back, it goes nice and easy, nice and smooth, right? So, for example, when I learned how to say nice to meet you in Chinese, 很高兴认识你, when I learned how to say that, when I first learned how to say it, I really tried to go slow, and I always tried to say the tones really well. But I never got them right, and so whenever I said it, people looked at me like, what? But when I just spit it out, if I just say it really fast, and I just say, 很高兴认识你, they go, oh, well, yeah, 很高兴认识你. Did you hear any tones when I said that? 很高兴认识你,很高兴认识你,很高興認識你. It's very, very, it's hard to hear the tones when it goes that fast. You know? That's too fast. You can't hear the tones there. So that's how I learned. I learned that with Chinese, sometimes I should just go faster. just say it fast and quick and just spit it out, and then the context will do the work for me, right? If I go slowly, now I have to make sure I get all the tones right. But if you just spit it out quickly, then the context does all the work for me. Oh, interesting. They have a term for that. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's see. What's the difference between an idiom and a phrase? Sometimes nothing, Mahdi. Sometimes phrases can be idioms and idioms can be phrases. But the general difference between a phrase and an idiom is an idiom has a story in it, some kind of a story. But a phrase just might be like just a set of words that usually go together, right? So, wait. How's it going? How's it going is a phrase. It's not an idiom. Okay? Long time no see is not an idiom. It's a phrase. Can't complain is not an idiom. It's a phrase. Can you give me a hand? That's not an idiom. That's a phrase. Okay? So, but a piece of cake, that's an idiom. It costs an arm and a leg, that's an idiom. There's a story there. There's a story about, oh, it's a piece of cake, it's easy, right? So if there's a story behind it, then it's an idiom. If it's just a group of words that are common, then it's a phrase. Okay? When we learn a new language, we can't speak fast at the beginning, so I guess it would be hard to recognize the words when hearing them faster. Well, yeah, this is not for beginners. Yeah, I would suggest that's only for intermediate to advanced people. Yeah. Why did Roman numerals become so influential and survive so long in Europe despite their limitations? Because of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was so powerful, and the Roman Empire was government, right? That was government. So that meant that those were the numbers that were used for government for a lot of things. And it was just easier to keep them, right? So sometimes change doesn't happen because it's harder to change than it is to just keep it the same. So they just kept the Roman numerals. Why were they eventually replaced by Hindu-Arabic numerals? I'm pretty sure the answer is just popularity. Commonality and popularity. That eventually mathematics used the Arabic numerals for the most part, right? And as mathematics continued to develop and become more popular, I would guess that's why, but I would have to do some research. I shouldn't speak out of turn. That's my guess about why. But here's what I will tell you. Why don't you go find out? Go ask AI or ChatGPT to tell you why did we switch and see if I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. And then you can come back and tell me I'm wrong. I always like that. When do you use apparently? Apparently is when something can be seen in front of you. It is apparent. Okay? If something is apparent, it's clear in front of you. It can be seen. Okay? So apparent is related to the word appear. Right? So do you know the word appear and disappear? So when something appears, it's in front of you. When something disappears, it's not in front of you, right? It's gone, right? So if it is apparent, then it means it's in front of you. It's clear. It's obvious. It's apparent that we're late. So if you go, if the meeting was at 4 o'clock and you show up at 4:30 and you walk in and there's no one there, you say, apparently we're late. Clearly we're late. You can see we're late. The facts show you we were late. That's apparent. It's appeared. It has appeared. It is clear. Okay? So when something is apparent, it has been shown to be clear in front of you. Okay? Now, we sometimes use that word a little bit sarcastically, right? So, maybe somebody is having a hard time with their computer or something. I don't know, and they're not logging in to come to talk to me or something, and maybe I'll say, apparently they're having some trouble, or apparently they're maybe I'll say, apparently they've died. You know, it's like I'm joking, right? Like that's sarcastic. Right? So sometimes we use the word sarcastically, but usually the word means when something is clear, it's apparent. If there are 4 or 5 people and you want to offer them some tea and coffee, please give you a polite offer. You could just say, would anyone like some tea? That's all. You don't have to make it complicated. Would anyone like some tea? Who wants tea? Can I get anyone some tea? Shall I make a pot of tea for everyone? Would anyone care for some tea? Yeah, care for you could use. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very polite way to say. Yeah. Would anyone care for some tea or something to eat? Sure. Waleed, man, no, that's not how magic works, man. How do I say this, Waleed? Wait a minute. You can say words with great power, Waleed, but not everyone will be affected by those words the same way. Powerful words can only be heard by people who have empathy to hear them. So the problem is that sometimes not everyone is ready to or able to or willing to listen. Even if you make the most powerful statement, not everybody is in the same position to be able to listen to it. So, the magic of words is not one that guarantees an outcome. When you say brilliant words, when you say something the right way, there is no guarantee of what will happen. And you also must remember that time is a construct. That means time is something that we created as humans. We created time so that we can understand the world we live in, right? So, for example, on the Earth, do you know what those lines are called? The lines that go up and down around the Earth, all the way around? What are those lines called? Those are called the lines of longitude. They're long, okay? They're longitude lines. And those are the lines that we use to tell time on Earth, right? We need to break up time around the world using these lines of longitude. And we've changed them a little bit because of politics, but if those are the lines that we use to tell time, then let me ask you a question. Those lines, if you go to the equator in the middle of the Earth, you can stand on one of those lines and it tells you what time it is. But what happens if you follow that line all the way north and you go to the North Pole, the top of the Earth? What time is it there? How do you tell time on the top of the Earth? So, what that means is time is a construct. Time is something that we have created in order to understand the world we live in, right? To function in the world we live in, we need time to understand it, right? But that also means that we assign time to things somewhat arbitrarily, right? What that means is, Waleed, maybe the words you say, maybe you will say some powerful words, but they won't affect somebody today, and they won't affect somebody tomorrow. Maybe they won't affect somebody for 5 years, or 10 years, or 20 years. But they will affect somebody. Time is a construct. So, when you say, can I say some powerful words that will affect someone? I can't guarantee it. But what I can say is you can say powerful words. You can't guarantee what will happen. But you also can't guarantee that it won't happen eventually. That with time, maybe it does happen. So maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow. Or next year. Or in 1,000 years. Okay? All right, let's see. Next question. What's the hardest tea in the world? The strongest tea in the world is reality. Reality. That's true. Very good. I haven't used nevertheless, moreover, however, and consequently, right? Okay. So what's your question? I use them all the time. So, however is like but, right? So if I want to make a point and I say, well, I really, really like watermelon. However, I also really like cantaloupe. So that's like but. However is like but, right? Okay? Moreover, it means I want to add another thing. More. I want to say something more over that. So if I say, he's the greatest baseball player of all time. Moreover, he's also a really great guy. It's like saying on top of that, okay? Nevertheless is like but. You're going against what you just said. So you'll say, It's going to rain really hard today. Nevertheless, I'm planning to go to the baseball game. Okay? So there's, did I get all of them? And consequently is what you say when something has a consequence. So, I ran out of gas today on the way to work. Consequently, I was late for work. So because of this, consequently, I was late, right? Because of this, consequently. It's the consequence, okay? If you look, the word consequent, let me see something, wait a minute. There it is. Yeah, so the word consequently has two words in it. Con, which is the word com, meaning with or together, and sequi, meaning to follow. So consequent means something that follows. Okay? What follows, or following together. Okay? All right, did I miss something? Oh, Ahura says, do we really need to know those native speakers sound like sentences? I mean, instead of saying, I don't know, we should say, I don't know. No, Ahura, don't even think about that stupid stuff. Learn English that can be written down. All right? Don't try to learn some form of colloquial English like that. Don't bother. Just learn what can be written. Okay? I think you should use what you want to use, but I think you shouldn't just try to use the cool words, right? There's so much pressure to sound like a native. And what that is you don't want to look stupid, right? When you say, I want to sound like a native, what you're really telling me is, I don't want to sound dumb, right? I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want to be embarrassed. That's what you're saying, okay? And what I'm telling you is, your problem is your embarrassment. The problem is that you're worried about being embarrassed. That's the problem. Okay? Holy Moses, it's almost 3 hours. Wow, 3 hours today. Wow. I didn't realize how long I'd been here. You want me to adjust my camera because it's blurry? Well, I can't adjust it. I can try to wipe it. Let me see if it makes it better. Is that better? All right. I've been here for 3 hours today. Wow, that's too long. I think it's time to go. I'm going to finish up here. So let's see. One more question. Specifically and in particular, interchangeable. Are they interchangeable? Yes. Specifically and in particular, I would say those are very interchangeable. Okay, specifically, specific means that thing, that one thing, right? Particular also means that one thing, right? So those are interchangeable. 6-7 has no meaning. 6-7 is a joke. It's a joke. The joke is that it has no meaning. So they use the term 6-7 for anything. You can use 6-7 for anything at all. And that's the joke. People will say, I don't get it. I don't know what that means. That's the joke. The joke is that they use 6-7 for anything, and then you don't understand because you don't know why they're using it for anything. That's the joke. All right? Okay, let's see. And imagine you've been busy all day with your work, and in the evening someone asks you, how have you been? How do you describe your whole day? Well, that's hard to explain because my day will be different than everyone else's day, right? When someone asks, how have you been? We're not asking you to tell us everything about your day, right? So the question, how are you, or how have you been, it's part of a greeting usually. If a person says to you, hey, how are you? That's part of the greeting. We're just saying hello. And in the West, in America, how are you is part of the greeting, right? We want to just hear you say, oh, I'm doing well, or I'm good, I'm fine. It's part of the greeting, okay? But guess what? This question is different. If you ask it in the beginning of a sentence or in the beginning of a conversation, it's just part of the greeting, like hello. But if I ask you, how are you, in the middle of a conversation, now I really want to know, are you okay? Is everything okay with you? Right? So when people say, how have you been? Usually it's just a casual greeting, and you can just say, I've been good, I've been pretty good, I've been great, I've been so-so, I've been wonderful, I'm hanging in there, I'm doing the best I can. Whatever you want to say. It doesn't really matter. It's not a serious question. It's just part of the greeting. Okay? But maybe someone said, well, what did you do with yourself today? Now that, they want to know what you did. What did you do? Oh, well, today I woke up and made myself some breakfast, and then I went over to work, and I got to work by 8 o'clock, but there was some bad traffic on the way. And then when I got to work, I worked until noon and went to lunch at noon across the street from where I work. I had some lunch. Then I came back and worked again until 5. Then I went home and made some dinner for my family. And now I'm relaxing and watching some TV. Whatever. You know? So, how have you been is usually just a greeting. Like, how are you? Okay? If someone asks it in a more direct or specific way, then you can tell them a specific list of what you've been doing, what you've been up to. Okay? All right. Do I think listening to podcasts over and over is enough to understand the dialogues of a movie without subtitles? If you do it enough, yeah, but it'll get there a lot faster if you get the subtitles and the transcript. Get the transcript, Ahura. Subtitles don't mean anything. Subtitles are worthless. The transcript is everything because you can hold the transcript. You can make notes on the transcript. You can circle things on the transcript. Okay, so get the transcript. Don't worry about the subtitles. Okay, hanging in there means I'm doing the best I can, right? So I always imagine a monkey, right? A monkey that's hanging, right? Like, look, I'll tell you what hanging in there means. It means this. It means this. Wait. Hang in there. Don't give up. Don't let go. Keep hanging on. Keep hanging. Hang in there. Okay? Hang in there means keep going. So in Chinese, it's 加油. Okay? Hung in there means past tense. So that would be like, I hung in there the longest I could. It means I tried the best I could for as long as I could. I stayed in there. I kept doing it for as long as I could, right? I hung in there, okay? Hung up and hang up are different. Yeah, those, the word hang up and hung up, mostly those are talking about the phone, right? So phones, a long time ago, we had the old kind of phone, like this kind of phone, right? The one that you would put on something, right? You could put it on the wall and you would hang it up on the wall. So when you were done with your conversation, you would hang up the phone. That's what that meant. So hanging up means ending the call because a long time ago, you used to take the phone and hang it on the wall. Okay? But we also have another term, a hang-up. If someone has a hang-up about something, it's a slang term that means it's something that bothers them. It's something like, we also call it a pet peeve. It means something that really bothers and annoys you and you don't like it at all. That's a hang-up. Like, I have a hang-up about this. I have a hang-up about that. Means I don't really like that thing. Okay, hang up has a few different meanings. Okay, here is my file. Everything you need to know about me is in that file. If you like my teaching, then come there. Every single time there's somebody, pneumo, ono, ultra, micro, scapa, silica, volcano, alconiosis. It's a sickness. Pneumo means the lungs. Ono, I can't remember what it means. I think it means cancer? No, I don't remember. Oh no. Ultra means ultra, like more of or on the edge of or something. Micro means small. Microscopic means small. Silico means from silicon. Volcano means volcanic or volcanic-like. And oconiosis is a kind of sickness. Okay, I have to go. If you want to know about me, get my file. My file is right here. Everything you need to know about me is in the file. Okay? Get the file. Copy that link and open it in your browser and you can read about me. Okay? My schedule is in the file. My website, my YouTube, everything is in the file. Okay? All right, that's it for me today. Wow, 3 hours and 10 minutes. That went fast. All right, have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye.